Welcome to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Friday Night Rivals pregame show. I am Mike McGivern. Thank you so much for joining us. So when we set up the schedule each year for Friday Night Rivals, our hope is near the end of the year, we have a matchup like we do tonight. There's a lot of storylines in this one. Sussex Hamilton at Milwaukee Marquette. Both teams are undefeated, 5-0 in the Greater Metro and 6-1 overall. And this game will go a long way in determining who wins the Greater Metro this year. So last year, Sussex Hamilton went undefeated in conference, and they won it. Milwaukee Marquette's only loss in conference was to Sussex Hamilton. In fact, Sussex Hamilton has won the conference 2 years in a row. Their last loss in conference was September 23rd of 2022 to Milwaukee Marquette. Last year, Marquette went on to win the Division I state championship. Sussex Hamilton lost in Level 4 to Franklin. With just that, this game is going to be a real good one. And now add into that this is Coach K from Milwaukee Marquette's last year at Marquette. He's retiring at the end of the season, and this team would love to send him off with a conference championship and a long run into the playoffs. So let's break down the Hilltoppers for Milwaukee Marquette. Again, coming into tonight's game, their record is 6-1 overall, 5-0 in conference, and their only loss, non-conference loss, was to start the year at Arrowhead. We're now joined by the head coach from Milwaukee Marquette. He is Keith Klestinski. Coach, how you been?
I've been very good.
You look phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you.
You're spending a few minutes in the weight room with those boys, aren't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one of our big deals tonight. We'll be in there, and we're bringing some enthusiasm.
Coach, I got to tell you, last year was a magical season. Look, it's something to get into the playoffs and then to make a run the way that you guys did. Coach, was pretty incredible. I have to be honest with you, and you got to the state final, and guys like me were like, man, I don't know if they can hang with Franklin. Well, not only did you hang with them, but you beat them up pretty good. And I wanted to say congratulations to you. Before we start talking about this year's team, last year's team was something special.
Absolutely. We had tremendous senior leadership, and I think a couple of different factors. I would point to three things that really were kind of key to our success. Certainly the seniors that we had were tremendous leaders. We committed ourselves heavily to the weight room, understanding that if you're going to go all the way, you're going to have to go through some very, very physical teams. And we want to be able to stand toe-to-toe with any team in the state. So we had kind of a murderer's row to go through in terms of Bayport, Kimberly, and Franklin, and Fond du Lac. I mean, we're talking, big FVA teams and teams that have been there before, and physical teams that get in the weight room. So we felt if we're going to do that, we need to be that team. So that was the kind of part two. And then I definitely have to thank Coach Gum and the Hamilton Chargers for what they did to us on homecoming last year. That 50-21 defeat, I tell you what, had that not happened, I'm not sure that we would have raised a goal ball. We learned so many lessons from that game, not just how to go into a game of that stature, because we didn't go in the way we were supposed to go in, but then how to not take anything for granted and to take every minute of practice as being the most important minute. Be where your feet are, don't look ahead.
Coach, we in the beginning, we talked about there's a lot of storylines to this game. They've won the conference 2 years in a row. You guys won the state championship last year. They're one game away from meeting you guys in the state championship game. Their last loss, and I know you know this, last loss in conference was September of 2022 to Milwaukee Marquette. And so There's so many storylines, and this being your last year, you're retiring at the end of the year. For guys like me, there's a lot of storylines to talk about, and the respect that you have for that program at Sussex Hamilton, I know, is really high.
Well, that's a two-way street, definitely. Our last loss in conference was 15 games ago. We're 14-1 since that game, and again, that game has taught us a lot. But I have tremendous respect for Coach Gum and that program. They do things the right way. They work hard. They're very, very well coached. They're physical. They're fast. And we're going to have our hands full on Friday night. We understand that, but we're excited. It should be a great game.
Hey, Coach, earlier you talked about last year's seniors and how they really led this team. Want to talk about some of the players from this year's team, and there's a junior that we'll talk about near the end, but I want to start with the quarterback. Luke Giosetti is a kid that, look, Giosetti's name through Marquette, I think I remember Giosetti's back in the day. So they've been a part of the Marquette program for a long time. And this kid does a nice job of running that offense and doing the things that you want him to do from the quarterback spot.
Well, Luke is a very, very bright young man. We actually have two quarterbacks. Both of them have played this year extensively. Mason Steinhoff had an outstanding game in the last one. Luke is interesting in the sense that he's very cerebral. Mason has just a gun for an arm. So together, those guys have led us, and we're confident with either quarterback being in the game. They're a tremendous asset when you can have two quarterbacks. Obviously, it's not the most ideal situation, but I think you'll see both of those guys playing on Friday night.
Yeah, I thank you for bringing up Mason. He was another one we wanted to talk about. Mitchell Negro is the linebacker that you have is a kid that, Matt, he will come up and hit you, and he's been a kid that you've counted on a little bit. He runs that defense for you.
Well, Mitchell Negro he comes from a long line as well. His father played for Paul Nowak back in the day on the basketball court, and he was a tremendous point guard for Paul, just a tenacious athlete. Mitchell's brother, Vinny, was a two-time All-State inside linebacker, earned a scholarship over to St. Thomas. Unfortunately, kind of blew out his shoulder. He was supposed to be a freshman starter for them a few years back. So Mitchell has been up on the varsity since his sophomore year, and he's an all-state competitor. He can play outside, but he can play inside linebacker as well. He'll do whatever we need to do, but he's just a very instinctual football player, and he's a very physical football player, and that's the kind of guy you need when you go into battle against the teams that we play against. We play against the best.
Coach, very seldom in this segment do we talk about kickers, but I think we have to talk about Eric Schmidt, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is a difference maker when it comes to, what you guys do at Milwaukee Marquette, and he's as good a kicker as there is in the state of Wisconsin.
Well, this young man, it's been my honor and privilege to work with him, not just as a coach to a football player, but as a human being. He does everything the right way. If you talk about a profile of a Division I athlete or someone who potentially could be a pro athlete at some point, he is the epitome of that. He takes care of his business. He's very self-directed. In the middle of winter, he's out shoveling our football field off so he can kick. And nobody told him to do that. He wanted to be a kicker. He had the desire to be a kicker. He did everything that he needed to do that. He's never shied away from competition. He's earned All-American status now and will play in the Under Armour All-American game in January in Orlando. So he is a tremendous asset to us. He's a 2-year captain, and he leads us in so many ways other than just what he does on the field.
Hey, Coach, last player, Tommy Novotny, is a kid that everybody will notice when they watch the game here. Kickoff is in about 20 minutes from when this is airing. He is a kid that's going to jump off the film at you, and just a tough running back that doesn't go down on the first hit, and he's a kid that's he does a lot for you guys on the offensive end.
Well, I think you hit on it, Mike. He's tough. He's not big in stature. He's got tremendous speed, but I think what really is his value is his toughness. He can take a hit, he can run inside, he can run outside. His elusiveness is tremendous. Last year, I thought he made a big stride in terms of his eye discipline. Now, this year, what we see is him setting up the second, the third, the fourth block. I mean, he is really not just seeing the field, but some of the moves that he's put on players on the field, on film, have just been amazing. He has a burning desire on every play to get in the end zone, and I think you'll see that in his kick returns and also when he's running the football.
Yeah, he's really fun to watch. Coach, thank you so much. Looking forward to hanging out with you a little bit on the sidelines. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, we'll be joined by Coach Justin Gum from Sussex Hamilton. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Friday Night Rivals pregame show only on My 24.